The boardroom fell silent as Rebecca Walker stepped through the double doors. Her designer heels clicked against the polished floor, each step echoing with the confidence of someone who had clawed her way to the top. But as her eyes locked with those of the man sitting at the head of the table, the same warm brown eyes she'd once loved, now hardened with something unreadable, her carefully constructed world tilted on its axis. "Michael," she whispered, the portfolio in her hands suddenly heavy. The man who had once been, who she had abandoned with their 3-year-old daughter for the promise of wealth and status, now sat before her as the CEO of the company that could save or destroy her career. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys of redemption and second chances. Your support means everything. 12 years earlier, Rebecca had made a choice that would haunt her forever. A choice that seemed logical at the time, but had left a hole in her heart that no amount of luxury could fill. Michael Chen wiped the sweat from his brow as he balanced his daughter Emma on his hip while trying to unlock their apartment door. The summer heat was unforgiving, especially in their building with its perpetually broken air conditioning. At 26, he hadn't imagined this would be his life, a struggling graphic designer, abandoned by his wife, raising a 3-year-old alone. "Daddy, I'm hungry," Emma whined, her small fingers playing with the collar of his worn t-shirt. "I know, sweetheart. We'll have dinner soon," he promised, finally getting the stubborn door open. The apartment was small but clean. Michael had done his best to make it a home for Emma, with her colorful drawings taped to the refrigerator and a small play area in the corner of the living room. But no matter how he arranged things, he couldn't hide the truth. They were barely getting by. He set Emma down and she immediately ran to her favorite stuffed rabbit, dragging it to the kitchen table where she waited expectantly for dinner. Michael opened the refrigerator, surveying its meager contents. Pasta again. He'd have to make it stretch until payday. As he boiled water for the pasta, his phone buzzed with a text message. "Rebecca. Can't make it for Emma's visit this weekend. Something came up with Gregory. We'll call to reschedule, *. Michael's jaw tightened. Gregory. The wealthy investment banker Rebecca had left them for. The man who could give her everything Michael couldn't, luxury vacations, designer clothes, a house in the suburbs with a swimming pool. The 4th cancelled visit in 2 months. "Is Mommy coming tomorrow?" Emma asked, her eyes bright with hope. Michael forced a smile. "Not this weekend, Em. But she'll see you soon." The disappointment on his daughter's face cut deeper than any pain Rebecca had inflicted on him. He could handle the rejection, the humiliation, the struggle, but watching his daughter's heart break piece by piece was unbearable. Later that night, after tucking Emma into bed with a story and a kiss, Michael sat at his small desk in the corner of the living room. His freelance work was spread out before him, logos and website designs for local businesses that paid just enough to keep them afloat. His eyes burned from exhaustion, but he couldn't afford to sleep. Not when rent was due and Emma needed new shoes. His laptop screen glowed with an email from a potential client, Chen Innovations, a tech startup looking for a complete brand identity package. The pay was substantial, enough to give them breathing room for months. Michael rubbed his tired eyes and began sketching ideas, determination fueling him despite his fatigue. "I'll make this work," he whispered to himself. For Emma. Rebecca Walker adjusted her Cartier watch as she sat in Gregory's sleek BMW, watching the city lights blur past. Her life had transformed in the year since she'd left Michael and Emma. No more budget constraints, no more tiny apartment, no more sacrificing her dreams for family obligations. "You're quiet tonight," Gregory observed, his hand resting possessively on her thigh. "Just tired," she replied, offering a practiced smile. The truth was more complicated. She'd cancelled another visit with Emma, and the guilt was eating at her. But what could she do? Gregory had surprised her with tickets to a charity gala, the kind of networking opportunity she couldn't pass up if she wanted to advance in her marketing career. As they pulled up to the glittering hotel entrance, Rebecca pushed thoughts of her daughter's disappointed face from her mind. This was the life she'd chosen. The life she deserved after growing up with nothing. The gala was a swirl of designer gowns, champagne, and influential people. Rebecca moved through the crowd with practiced ease, her arm linked with Gregory's as he introduced her to business associates and friends. "And this is James Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Media," Gregory said, presenting her to a distinguished older man. "Lovely to meet you," Rebecca said, extending her hand. "I actually have a background in marketing. Your company's recent campaign for TechSphere was brilliant." James Whitmore raised an eyebrow, impressed. "You follow our work?" "I make it a point to study the best," Rebecca replied smoothly. By the end of the evening, she had James Whitmore's business card and a tentative interview scheduled. This was why she had made the choices she had, for opportunities like this. For a chance to be someone. Yet as she lay in Gregory's king-sized bed that night, in his penthouse with its panoramic view of the city, sleep eluded her. She found herself wondering if Emma had remembered to take her favorite rabbit to bed, if Michael had remembered she liked her bedtime stories with different voices for each character. Rebecca turned over, burying her face in the silk pillowcase. She couldn't afford to think like that. She had made her choice, and there was no going back. The years passed in a blur of contrasts. While Michael struggled to build his design business and raise Emma with love and stability, Rebecca climbed the corporate ladder at Whitmore Media, eventually becoming their youngest marketing director. Her relationship with Gregory had fizzled after 2 years. He'd wanted a trophy wife, not an ambitious career woman, but she hardly noticed his absence in her pursuit of success. Emma grew from a toddler to a bright, creative 9-year-old with her father's determination and kind heart. Michael's freelance business had slowly transformed into Chen Design Studio, a boutique agency with a growing reputation for innovative work. They had moved to a better apartment, and while they weren't wealthy, they were comfortable. What they lacked in material possessions, they made up for in their bond. Michael had built a life centered around his daughter, coaching her soccer team, helping with science projects, teaching her to cook his mother's Chinese recipes. Rebecca's visits had become increasingly rare, until they were little more than occasional phone calls and birthday gifts sent by her assistant. One evening, as Michael was preparing dinner, Emma sat at the kitchen counter working on homework. "Dad?" she asked, twirling her pencil. "Why did Mom leave?" Michael froze, the knife in his hand hovering over the vegetables he was chopping. He had known this question would come eventually, but it still caught him off guard. "Sometimes," he began carefully, setting down the knife, "people want different things from life. Your mom wanted a different kind of life than the one we had." "A better life?" Emma asked, her voice small. Michael moved around the counter and sat beside his daughter, taking her small hands in his. "Not better, just different. She wanted career success and certain comforts that we couldn't afford then." "But didn't she want me?" The question broke his heart. "Of course she wanted you, Em. She still does. She just didn't know how to balance everything she wanted." He squeezed her hands. "But I want you to know something important. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Every day with you is a gift, and I wouldn't trade our life together for anything in the world." Emma leaned into his chest, and he wrapped his arms around her, resting his chin on top of her head. "I wouldn't trade it either," she whispered. That night, after Emma was asleep, Michael sat at his computer reviewing a proposal for a new client, a tech company called Nexus Innovations that was making waves in the industry. The project would be his biggest yet, a complete rebranding that could put Chen Design Studio on the map nationally. As he worked late into the night, he couldn't help but think about Rebecca's choices. There had been a time when her abandonment had nearly destroyed him, when the weight of single parenthood and financial struggle had seemed impossible to bear. But looking back now, he realized those challenges had forged him into someone stronger, more resilient, more focused. Rebecca had chosen wealth and status over family. He had chosen Emma. And he had never regretted it for a moment. Rebecca's corner office at Whitmore Media offered a stunning view of the city skyline, but she hardly noticed it anymore. At 38, she had achieved everything she'd set out to accomplish: the executive position, the luxury apartment, the respect of her peers in the industry. Yet something was missing. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Ms. Walker? Your 3 o'clock is here." "Send them in," Rebecca replied, straightening the papers on her desk. The door opened to reveal a teenage girl with long dark hair and familiar brown eyes. Rebecca's heart stopped. "Emma?" "Hi, Mom," Emma said, her voice steady despite the nervousness evident in her posture. Rebecca stood, unsure whether to hug her daughter or shake her hand. It had been nearly 2 years since they'd seen each other in person. "This is unexpected. How did you get past reception?" "I told them I was your daughter." Emma shrugged. "They didn't believe me until I showed them my ID." An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. "Please, sit down," Rebecca finally said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "Can I get you something to drink?" "No, thanks." Emma sat, looking around the office with curious eyes. "Nice view." "Thank you." Rebecca sat back down, studying her daughter's face. She had Michael's eyes and smile, but Rebecca could see traces of herself in the girl's cheekbones and the determined set of her jaw. "You've grown so much." "That happens in 2 years," Emma replied, a hint of bitterness in her tone. Rebecca winced. "I deserve that. I know I haven't been present in your life. That's actually why I'm here." Emma leaned forward. "I'm doing a school project on career paths, and I thought I should include you." The simple statement hit Rebecca like a physical blow. Her daughter had to create a school project as an excuse to see her. What kind of mother had she become? "I'd be happy to help," she said softly. "What do you need to know?" For the next hour, Emma interviewed her about her education, career choices, and daily responsibilities. Rebecca answered each question thoughtfully, struck by her daughter's intelligence and poise. This remarkable young woman had grown up without her, and the realization filled her with a profound sense of loss. As the interview wound down, Emma asked one final question. "Do you ever regret your choices? Choosing your career over your family?" The directness of the question took Rebecca's breath away. She looked into her daughter's eyes so like Michael's, and found she couldn't lie. "Yes," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Every day." Emma nodded, as if confirming something she'd already suspected. She closed her notebook and stood. "Thank you for your time." "Emma, wait." Rebecca rose quickly. "Would you like to have dinner sometime? Just the 2 of us? I'd love to get to know you better." Emma hesitated, then gave a small nod. "I'd like that." After her daughter left, Rebecca stood at her office window, watching the tiny figure exit the building far below. The empire she'd built suddenly felt hollow. All the promotions, the awards, the recognition, none of it filled the void left by the family she'd abandoned. She picked up a framed award on her desk, Marketing Executive of the Year, and wondered what price she had truly paid for it. The Nexus Innovations project had transformed Chen Design Studio. What had started as a rebranding assignment had evolved into Michael becoming the company's creative director, and eventually, a partner in the business. His innovative approach to design and marketing had helped Nexus grow from a promising startup to a major player in the tech industry. At 38, Michael had achieved success beyond what he'd imagined possible during those difficult early years. Chen Design Studio had grown into a respected agency with a team of talented designers, and his partnership with Nexus had made him financially secure. But his greatest pride remained Emma, now 15 and blossoming into a thoughtful, creative young woman. "Dad! Have you seen my blue notebook?" Emma called from her bedroom in their comfortable townhouse. Check under your history textbook, Michael replied, adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror. Today was a big day, the official announcement of his new position as CEO of Nexus Innovations. The company's founder, Aidan Parker, was stepping back to focus on product development, and had shocked everyone by naming Michael as his successor. You understand our vision better than anyone, Aidan had told him. And you've proven you can build something from nothing. Emma emerged from her room, notebook in hand. Found it. Are you nervous about today? Michael smiled at his daughter. A little. It's a big responsibility. You'll be amazing, Emma said confidently, straightening his already straight tie. You always are. On the drive to Emma's school, she was unusually quiet. Everything okay? Michael asked, glancing at her. I saw Mom yesterday, Emma admitted. For my career pathways project. Michael kept his expression neutral despite his surprise. How did that go? It was interesting. Emma looked out the window. She seemed sad, Dad. Successful, but sad. Michael nodded, unsure what to say. He had long ago let go of his anger toward Rebecca, understanding that people make choices they later regret. He had focused instead on building a good life for Emma and himself. She asked if we could have dinner sometime, Emma continued. Just the two of us. I think that would be good, Michael said gently. She's still your mother, Em. Whatever happened between us doesn't change that. Emma turned to him with a small smile. You're a good person, Dad. Not everyone would be so understanding. As he dropped her off at school, Michael reflected on how life had come full circle. The struggles that had once seemed insurmountable had led him to this moment of success. And while Rebecca had chosen a different path, perhaps there was still room for healing. Later that day, as he stood at the podium accepting his new role as CEO of Nexus Innovations, Michael looked out at the assembled employees and press. His team from Chin Design Studio sat in the front row, cheering loudly. Emma was there too, her face glowing with pride. When I started Chin Design Studio 12 years ago, I was a single father working from a tiny apartment, just trying to provide for my daughter, he told the crowd. I never imagined standing here today. But I've learned that with persistence, integrity, and the right people believing in you, anything is possible. The applause was thunderous. As Michael stepped away from the podium, his assistant approached with an urgent message. Sir, Whitmore Media is requesting a meeting next week. They're interested in a potential partnership for their new digital platform. Michael nodded, not yet realizing that this routine business meeting would bring his past crashing into his present. Rebecca stared at the press release on her computer screen, reading it for the third time to make sure she wasn't mistaken. Nexus Innovations names Michael Chin as new CEO. The photo showed Michael at a podium, looking confident and distinguished in a tailored suit, a far cry from the struggling young designer she had left behind. The article detailed his journey from founding Chin Design Studio to becoming a partner at Nexus, praising his innovative approach and leadership skills. Rebecca leaned back in her chair, a complex mix of emotions washing over her. Pride for the man she had once loved. Regret for what might have been. And a strange sense of justice. The universe had a way of balancing things out after all. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Did you see the news about Dad? Yes, just reading it now. He's accomplished so much. You must be very proud. Emma's reply came quickly. I am. He never gave up, even when things were really hard. The unspoken implication hung in the digital space between them. Unlike you. Rebecca set down her phone and turned to the proposal on her desk. Whitmore Media was planning to launch a new digital content platform, and Nexus Innovations had the technology they needed to make it successful. As marketing director, she had pushed for this partnership, unaware of who now led the company. Now she would have to face Michael across a boardroom table, not as the struggling ex-husband she had abandoned, but as the CEO of a company her employer desperately wanted to work with. Life had a strange sense of humor. The following week, Rebecca prepared meticulously for the meeting. She reviewed the proposal countless times, anticipated every possible question, and chose her outfit with particular care, professional but not flashy, confident but not arrogant. As her car service drove her to the Nexus headquarters,